Hi, I'm Hannah. Welcome to Theology Therapist. This is my channel where we talk about all things spirituality and mental health. Thanks for being here. Before we get started, remember to press that red subscribe button and the bell notification so that you can get updates on all weekly new videos. Today, I'm going to talk about CPT versus PTSD, or complex PTSD versus PTSD, 3 ways to tell the difference and how to get help. Okay, so the first difference to note between complex PTSD and PTSD is the factor of time. This is one of the determining factors to tell whether something qualifies as complex PTSD or regular PTSD. So regular PTSD is really about like one incident or like a something happened. You can kind of pinpoint what that thing was. Whereas complex PTSD is ongoing. It happened over a long period of time, and it might be less about like something happened, but more about for how long that thing happened for. The second component of determining whether something is complex or regular PTSD is the type of thing that happened. Complex PTSD, an example of something that might qualify for that would be like living within a violent community or being held captive, something to that extent. Whereas PTSD might be like a car accident, it might be something for work, like if you're a first responder. Those are some of the ways in which the type can impact like the way in which these show up. One thing to note is that religious trauma, something that we talk a lot about here. Religious trauma is often, it's not in the DSM, so it's not in the diagnostic manual. The symptoms of religious trauma often mirror complex PTSD because it often happens early in life and it often happens over a very long period of time. So that's also another example of like a type of complex PTSD. One event that might be indicative of PTSD or like regular PTSD would be being mugged, or being like if there's any sort of physical or sexual assault, like this kind of one-time thing, this like one incident. Because remember, it's about like it's about the type of incident, but it's also about how long or how often. So we have number 1, time, number 2, type, number 3, symptoms. So complex PTSD has these kind of additional symptoms of it, like has PTSD symptoms, but also these additional symptoms. There's difficulty regulating emotions, there's a lot of poor self-image, and there are often relationship problems. Some of those things kind of make sense because if we're thinking about like the impact of something over a long period of time, clearly it's going to impact our self-image, the way we view ourselves, and the way that we engage in relationships. Like it's like there's more conditioning that's happened there. And then because of that conditioning, it's just going to cause more like difficulty to regulate, like more difficulty regulating emotions or being with your experience because you haven't learned to do that yet. So if this is you, if you're like, I feel like that this would be me, like this is all sounding really familiar, I really recommend talking to your doctor or talking to a therapist because they can help parse out for you which one of these that they might be. If you are really experiencing so much distress on a daily basis that it's hard for you to, engage in relationships, social life, work, like all these kind of main or like adulting, main aspects of kind of living your life. If because of the symptoms that you're experiencing, that those things are so hard, I really recommend that you speak with a therapist or find treatment for PTSD because it actually is so treatable. But the hardest thing, whether it's complex or regular, the hardest thing about PTSD is that it is really maintained. So it just keeps happening. It's cyclical, if you will. It like is maintained through avoidance. And it's like, oh, this is gonna keep happening because part of its presentation is that you avoid stuff. And so then it's just gonna make it where it's harder to like overcome. Like, oh, how sucky is that? No, we're not gonna live with that. We're not gonna stand for that. So don't stand for that. You can get the help that you need. If you need help finding a therapist, I'm going to link here a video from a couple of weeks ago that I think you'll find really helpful on how to recover from PTSD really quickly, or like most efficiently, if you will. And I walk you through some of the most important steps that you need to know, I think, as a therapist for receiving proper treatment and like the things that you want to know and look for. I want to let you know that I'm going to be launching a course at the end of the summer, so end of August, beginning of September, about making peace with your religious past, regulating your nervous system so that you can kick the fear of hell to the curb, so that you can cultivate satisfying relationships, and so that you can engage with spirituality in a way that isn't triggering. If you are interested in learning more about this, you can join the waitlist here to hear more about launch dates and any early bird specials. I also want to let you know that throughout the week, I often will post over on the community tab of the Theology Therapist page. I'll post questions, and I want to hear like what your preferences are. There are a couple up now. You're welcome to go see what those are and let me know what you think. Here in this video, in this comment box, if you are interested in joining the waitlist for this course, if you have any questions about complex PTSD or PTSD, leave them in a comment here on this video. I'll just comment back you the link to join the waitlist if you'd like for this course, or try to answer the questions that you have, or take those questions and make a future video about that. Thanks for being here today. I can't wait to see you next week. Be well.